Hello to all the comic fans, Marvel geeks, and all the nerds in between. Welcome to another episode of the Vigilante Vibes podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, along with other fandoms, but without the toxicity that's taken up way too much space in each and every fandom. I'm your host, Megan Nicole, and today I am joined by the person behind oh gosh, where did I go? Oh, I'm so sorry. I have to start that over. I'm your host, Meg. I have like three different intros, and I read the wrong one. I'm your host, Megan Nicole, and we're here to have another episode of Elevating the Nerdy Voices of the Rainbow, where we lift up the voices of the LGBTQ plus communities. Today, joining me, the person behind Nonstop Nerd, I have David, and I'm very excited to talk to you.
Hello, how are you today?
So good. I'm so glad you're here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit back and forth throughout the Facebook groups for a while. It's cool that we actually get to meet now.
Yes, it's really nice to finally meet you outside of like Facebook comments.
Yeah. Facebook comments are great, but like, you know, it's not the same.
Right.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
All right, well, like you said, I'm David. I run Nonstop Nerd. It's a blog that I've been running for like 5 or 6 years now. That I talk about anything under the nerd culture umbrella, whether it be video games, movies, comic books, tabletop games, you name it. Anything from just my own opinions or just making fun lists, like, I don't know, some of the coolest things in Star Wars, or just movie reviews, video game reviews, just whatever's on my mind. I, like a lot of nerdy folk, like to go on tangents about what we love and what we're passionate about. And I find the blog can be very therapeutic. So that way I'm not talking someone's ear off. I'm kind of just putting it on the page and posting it. I am a writer in many sense of the word, where the blog is what I write mostly, but I am working on my first novel currently. Currently editing the first draft to eventually start the second draft. I'm hoping to have the second draft by the end of the year. I've also have another work in progress that is a collection of comedy horror short stories. That is not very far along. My novel is much more further along than that. And I also write for because I'm in Buffalo, New York. I write for a local online magazine called Buffalo Rising, where I have a column called Nerd Scene, where I write about local conventions, gaming stores, comic shops, and anything that's kind of nerdy in Buffalo, New York.
You're a busy guy. Oh my gosh.
Yes, because then I also have a day job and, hobbies like playing the video games and watching the movies.
Oh my gosh. How do you fit all of that in? And on top of creating your own novel?
Yeah, just busy.
So I
multitasking.
That's very fair. I like what you said about it being therapeutic to do your blog, because I totally get that. I think that's why a lot of us do this. But what are some of the things you like to put on your blog? You said lists. You like things you're passionate about. What are you passionate about?
This might be a long answer. Some of the things that I love most in nerd culture, something that I just love in general, like DC Comics is one of the absolute biggest ones for me. That goes back to, when I was a little kid and my brother and I had Batman and Robin pajamas. He had Batman pajamas, I had Robin pajamas. And I grew up watching the DCAU. Those cartoons really helped shape me, I feel. Other big ones being Sonic the Hedgehog. That goes back to also being a kid with like the first Sonic Adventure game, kind of teaching me that a video game can have a much more in-depth story than just saving the world, just stopping the villain, just saving the princess. As much as I love, Mario, etc., Sonic Adventure had 6 overlapping stories, all with like character growth, and I thought that was really interesting. I feel like that really got me to latch on to that series, and now it makes me so happy that I feel like this is an amazing time to be a Sonic fan with the movies, the games coming out, Lego sets. There are tabletop games of it now. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff. The comics, the IDW comics, I've only read the first collection so far, and they're incredible. Other big one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is something that I will always sit in front of the TV for, play the video games of, go to the theater for. A variety of video games being Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, a lot of mascots, Sly Cooper, etc. Things like that. So all these things that I really love end up showing up in my blog a lot. I'm a big movie fan in general. My original career goal was I wanted to be a filmmaker. That has kind of changed into focusing on writing and being an author, because the more I hear about filmmaking and just, oh, the studio rejected the script that I spent 5 years writing. That sounds horrible. Or, hey, this actor took control of my project. Well, that sounds awful. I don't want to do that. That sounds, even like indie work, that just doesn't sound enjoyable.
Yeah.
This way I can just write the book the way I want, and I plan on self-publishing, so I don't have to deal with a publisher taking control of anything. I can just write it, and people can read it. And sure, I'm not going to be some millionaire author. That's fine. I just want to get the art out there. I just want to get the story out there. Because I spend so much of my time, so much of my life talking about pop culture, I kind of also want to like create it and be a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally get that. I mean, nerd culture is such a huge world, and I get it. I want to put my footprint in there too somewhere, because it's like, it's such a beautiful thing to be involved in. Like, people who aren't involved in it don't really get it, but it's so vast. It's so big. There's so many different parts of it, and all of it stems from what you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And I think that part of that too, with what we're passionate about, I think that comes from a connection to it, or you feel safer in it than you might in the real world, whether it be work or school or what have you. I was always, a much quieter kid growing up. And eventually I realized I was like a pansexual, panromantic man, and, afraid to tell people certain things, afraid to tell people about myself, or, I was picked on. I mean, my main bullies were like my own siblings, my own family, but let's not jump into that. But when, I'm the butt of jokes or what have you, I feel like I can be safer sitting down and playing Crash Bandicoot or watching Power Rangers. And because of that, I form this connection with that more than people sometimes, And I feel like other people are the same way, and talking about, the latest Marvel movie or what have you, I feel like brings that level of comfort that we all need.
Yeah, I agree. So you said you're a pansexual man.
Yes.
Could you kind of tell me what that means? Because I'm a straight woman. This is all so new to me, so I'm just trying to learn as well.
Yes. So the root word pan technically means all. Mm-hmm. And when I was, kind of figuring out my own identity, for a while I kind of thought of myself as being bisexual. But then eventually I was kind of thinking, like, bi means two, and that doesn't feel right, where I do have attraction to other genders as well. So originally I was thinking of myself as pansexual because, I'm attracted to anyone of any gender. But people have... There's kind of a discussion within the LGBT community about, hey, maybe that's somewhat bi erasure, because bisexual doesn't necessarily mean two genders strictly. It means two or more genders. Pansexual is more the attraction regardless of gender. And after learning the real meaning of pansexual, like, no, I am still that, because that also feels very correct. To me, someone's gender is like caring about someone's gender in terms of like finding a partner is like caring about eye color or hair color or height. Like, sure, you might have like that preference, but if you find your person and they're like a different eye color than you usually like, is that really a big deal?
Okay. Wow.
Like, I don't know, like gender just isn't at all an important detail for me. I care more about someone's heart and mind. I care more about intelligence and humor and common interests.
No, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, that's really interesting. I can imagine that's hard to kind of figure out because there's a lot of things in the LGBTQ communities that if I saw myself in that position, I would be like, how would I even like know? Like asexuality. Like I look at it, I'm like, what if I think I'm just really picky? What if I don't know? I feel like you have to really be in really good terms with yourself to come to that, not that label, but to know what you are.
Yes. Yeah, honestly, it was kind of a long journey for me, and it could be longer for other people, and that's very okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I was born in 93, and growing up in like the 90s and early 2000s, you know, people used gay as a slang term for bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that shirt, that's gay. Like, so you looked at it as a bad thing to not be straight. So like, I think like I forced, without even like realizing it, just subconsciously like forced myself to like only look at myself as straight, only look at women for people who I'm attracted to. And, you know, it was something that I kind of couldn't fight myself with for too long, where eventually I would have like crushes on other boys. And I would look back at like other friendships I had when I was even younger, thinking like, oh, I don't think that was just a friendship. I think that was like a legit crush on this boy. And I, you know, was not in a situation at home where I felt like I could tell anyone for a long time. And I kind of something I just kept to myself. And I kind of, was wondering different things about myself, like, oh, like, is it just physical attraction versus romantic attraction? Eventually, you know, I'd realize that it's everything, but eventually, like in high school, you know, had found out, like, because of other people and their experiences, that like, hey, like other people who are in my circle are very accepting of this. Very slowly, like very, very slowly, it came out like, oh, I think I'm bisexual. I told them like, hey, maybe it is just physical attraction. I don't know. My attraction toward women is much stronger, but part of that goes into, again, maybe I wasn't allowing myself to just feel attraction openly to other people because of this negative stigma that I was taught as a kid. And, you know, even if it is just physical attraction to some people and romantic to others, that is also okay. Everyone feels attraction differently. It's a very wide spectrum. But then when I kind of like started letting myself just feel attraction, I started really like, oh, I have a romantic crush on this person. I want to date this person. I'm physically attracted to this person. And then like I've noticed like I'm pickier in some areas, like masculine presenting people I'm a little pickier with, but that doesn't mean I'm not attracted to more masculine people. There's exceptions for everything. Like I don't use like with not being attracted to people who are very masculine, I don't usually like people with beards. There's definitely been exceptions to that.
Do you think that's because you have a beard?
And that went back to long before I had one.
Oh, okay. I was always curious about that because I don't know. It's so I like see a gay couple together and I'm like, I like when there's differing personalities together. I think that's really cute. So when I see two guys with a beard, I'm like, ah, damn it. You guys could just like break off and make these other, I don't know.
Yeah, no, like I think it, I mean, like, it is just personal preference because like everyone has preferences.
Of course.
But I also wonder if that goes back to me just telling myself, no, I need to only be attracted to women or people who are female presenting. But again, as I've aged, I've kind of just opened myself up to, hey, like maybe look at this person as more as like who they are rather than the beard or their eye color or their gender. And yeah, again, the preferences still exist, but none of it really matters as much, you know, like I'm married to a woman. I'm in a very straight passing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But and I, only ever want to be with my wife. I love her to death.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make me not a pansexual man. But I've wondered you know what, if I somehow didn't have my wife, I don't think the gender of my next partner or a different partner would matter at all to me. I've been on dates and I've dated men. I've dated trans people. It obviously just didn't work out for one reason or another because I'm with my wife and I'm happy with my wife. But yeah, I think it just kind of went on a little bit of a rant, but kind of just to say that I feel like I'm somewhat more attracted to people who are female presenting, but I could definitely still see myself with someone who is very masculine and very manly. It just, for whatever reason, my brain is you're very, my brain just tells me you're very open to a variety of people who are female presenting, whether it be body weight or body shape, different faces, etc. And that doesn't matter. We're with men or masculine presenting people, I'm a little pickier, but I feel like it doesn't really matter in the long run compared to who they are as a person.
Well, thank you for explaining that. You made it make a lot of sense. We all have preferences. You like what you like, but
Yeah.
So in all of the nerd cultures, have you seen any kind of representation that you feel best portrays being a pansexual man?
There's not tons from what I've experienced or seen or read. I think the biggest example for a pansexual man in media is Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
He is canonically a pansexual man. I haven't read tons or any of the Deadpool comics, from being honest. So I don't know tons about his relationship history. I know that he is or has been in love with Death, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously there's the Deadpool movies, which I love. And assuming he's pansexual in the movies, he hasn't said one way or the other. He is with Vanessa, or spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine, they're kind of, they have a rocky relationship right now.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that he is with Vanessa, regardless of the partner's gender, because I feel like they work so well as a couple, and I find myself really fighting for them to stay together. But it is also really cool to see a pansexual man in a straight passing relationship in media like Deadpool, because in a lot of media they have, this person is not straight, therefore they're with someone of the same gender, which is also super valid. But I'm in a straight marriage to a woman who I love to death, but that doesn't make me any less pansexual. Same thing with Deadpool. I do wish that somewhere in the movies that they would kind of mention it, just to confirm no, this is what this is, but obviously do so organically.
Mm-hmm.
Brought up a guy you dated in high school or something, I don't know, but that'd be kind of cool. Any other example isn't explicitly pansexual, but just LGBT open for interpretation in general. A big example for that is Steven Universe. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
It's probably one of my favorite shows, where people, the characters, just talk about love and who they love. And there's several couples who are same-sex couples. They're also aliens made out of light, but so gender's very, very not important in that respect. But
yeah,
for the sake of the characters, they are very clearly women date in relationship with other women. But then they talk about men they're in love with, and they never explicitly talk about sexuality. They just talk about love and who they're in love with and what they love and the relationships that they have. And we see them talk about what makes their relationships work, and and they never bring up gender. They never bring up their sexuality. They just talk about the feeling of love, and that's really what's important at the end of the day. I feel is just love and happiness and comfort. And Steven Universe is like the perfect representation of that, I feel.
Another one that was kind of touched on in the Marvel Universe was Loki. He's a pansexual man, and it was mentioned in the first season of Loki, but it was more, they kind of left it open for interpretation if he's bisexual, if he's pansexual, because he just kind of dropped a little bit.
Yeah, see, that's a good one too. He kind of just seems like, hey, whoever, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect that he's clearly in love with. I only seen season 1, and I saw it when it first came out. What's her name?
Sylvie.
Because that's himself, and I think Loki being in love with himself is perfect. It's very on brand for the character, but clearly, gender is not something that he cares about in a partner. Again, going back to like, you're straight, but like, how much do you care about the eye color of your partner? You might really like blue eyes, but if you found someone that you're in love with who has brown eyes, does it matter?
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker.
And that's how I look at gender, really. Like, it's just this very minor detail. That doesn't take away from who they are as a person.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Like, as a straight woman, it's hard to relate to that because I just like men. I like the things that come on men. I just like the package men. So I can't imagine, like,
very
looking
understandable.
Yeah, you get it. I can't imagine looking at a woman and being like, yes. But there are some women that make me think, like, I could probably give it a go. I could probably try it just to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's part of the spectrum, too. Like, I know people who, are gay and they consider themselves very gay, but then they've had, like, one relationship where they were with someone who was opposite gender, or vice versa. Like, oh, no, I'm very straight. But then they had that one relationship that was someone who was the same gender as them. And I think it just, again, this is a spectrum. Everyone just feels attraction differently.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what matters is, if they're happy and they're comfortable, then who cares?
Yeah, I also think there's some relationships or some times when you get with someone that there's nothing physical about it. It's emotional love that it's
right.
Like it goes beyond the body and what you can do with those things. So I think I have seen, like, I have some friends who are gay. They said, yeah, I was in a straight relationship once. I mean, it just kind of felt right, but I wasn't physically attracted to her. And that took a while to kind of figure out, because, like, in my brain, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Are you bi? Or it's there's so much that goes into it, and I don't envy anyone that has to go through these emotions and figure it out for themselves, because it's such a big thing. It seems so hard. Yeah,
it has caused a lot of stress in my life, especially when I was younger, like high school through like most of college. I kind of like really figured everything out when I was in college, and that was, oh god, like 10 more years ago. But something that, like, a way of thinking that has helped me, that I've kind of developed, is, sure, like, there are these words, these labels: pansexual, bisexual, gay, straight, non-binary, asexual, whatever. And, I'm a writer. I have a degree in English in creative writing, so, like, words do matter to me, and words are very comforting, but they also don't matter in the long run as long as you're happy. Like, if I were to describe to you, or just say anyone were to describe to you how their attraction works, and you think, oh, that's what bisexual is, that's what this is. But if they think of themselves, I'm gay. If that word at the end of the day is what makes them happy and comfortable with themselves, they're gay. Great. Like, the definition doesn't line up there technically, but for them, that one word brings them happiness to call themselves that, then that's what they are. That's all that matters.
I could see it. I definitely can see it. Some people, they've spent so much of their life not fitting in, and wondering why they can't fit in, and they finally find a label or a word that they can identify as, and they hold on to it. And I get that. I think that happened to me when I became a mom. As soon as I did, I was like, I'm a mom, I'm a mother, and I held on to that word because it's like, that's mine, that's who I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why, people, regardless of sexual orientation or gender or what have you, hold on to the word of, like, nerd.
Yeah.
Like, I write a blog called Nonstop Nerd, and I write about nerd culture, and you can only see parts of my office around me, but, like, nerdy posters and decor, and I have nerdy tattoos, and I just love anything that's nerdy, and I think part of that is just finding this word or this community that makes us feel comfortable with life and just the world around us.
Yeah, I definitely get that about the word nerd. I think we're all kind of like, at one point, all of this stuff we are passionate about was so taboo. It was like, it was just not the thing to do. And now it's like, being a nerd is cool. And like, I like that. I like that it's becoming more mainstream so that younger people can love this stuff without the fear of being judged. So I think it's great that people want to cling on to the word nerd.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, I was made fun of for, like, me and my friend were talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, and then we were made fun of for it. I remember freshman year of high school, I was reading the first comic I ever read, which was a comic that I bought from my friend for Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. It was created by Jonan Vasquez, who made Invader Zim. Oh. And that's what got me to read it, because, I love Invader Zim. I grew up with Invader Zim. Let me read this comic. And I would, like, read it in homeroom, and there's a lot of dark humor in it. So, I would read it, and I would laugh. And I would hear, like, several rows down at some other desk, like, a couple of girls, like, look at this guy, like, read the comic for a bit and laugh at himself. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, let me read this comic and be happy. So, like, now that, it's cool to be reading those comics, to be watching these movies, to be playing these video games, it is nice that people can do that without explicitly being made fun of for that. Kids are now growing up with video games and superhero movies being the norm.
Yeah.
And that's excellent. I do see, like, for whatever reason, that's created, the idea of it being cool has created a level of toxicity within their community, which it should not have.
Yeah.
Because people are, want to gatekeep, and they want to claim it as their own, like, oh, you suddenly like, Fantastic Four because the movie's come out. But I grew up reading this. You can't take that from me. But they need to realize, like, no one's taking that from you.
Yeah.
More people are just enjoying it, and that's okay.
Well, it's like if someone said, oh, you relate to Deadpool because he's pansexual, but you haven't read the comics, so how can you even relate to him? It's like, okay, well, wait. Who cares?
Right. Like, Deadpool's also in movies and video games. He was
in animated series he guest starred in. It's like, if you're a fan of the character, you're a fan of the stories, then you're a fan just as much as a comic reader. I'm a comic reader, but, like, you and I are both equal Deadpool fans. That's fair. That's what it should be. Yeah.
Like, probably the number one character that, like, I would be like, is, like, my character, like, is Batman. You can see the Batcave sign above my door.
I have been looking at that, yeah.
my wife made that for me, actually.
Oh, really? That's so good.
Yeah. And, like, my first tattoo is the bat symbol. And, I love Batman the Animated Series. I love the Batman Arkham video games. I love the Michael Keaton to George Clooney movies. I love the Christian Bale movies, this and that. And there are people who have only seen the Christian Bale movies, or they've only played the Arkham games, and they love Batman for that, but they haven't, seen Batman the Animated Series. They haven't read the comics. That's okay. They love the character. It's fine. The character exists in just about every form of media. So, like, to love Batman because of the video games without reading the comics is fine. Like, just because I've read the comics doesn't mean that I'm a bigger fan than someone else,
Yeah. I don't know why there's this competition between nerds, like who's read for so long, who likes the most, who knows the most. It's like, who cares? If someone doesn't know, that's a great time to say, there are these comics that you can learn more about them if you're that big a fan,
Right.
just to broaden what you know about them. It's not, you don't know anything about them. You haven't read the comics. First of all, I've read the comics. I still don't know anything about them. Comics are weird. Comics change.
Yeah.
They have the whole universe thing. Like, relax. You're not.
Oh yeah.
You're just wild.
Oh yeah. Like I read DC Comics, and like they bring up a character, and I'm like, who is this? And I like immediately bring up my phone, go to fandom wiki. I'm like, oh, this character's from the 30s. Never heard of him. Okay.
Yeah. No, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go on.
No, please.
Say the current run of Justice League Unlimited in the comics, a character who plays a major role is Dr. Occult. I've never heard of Dr. Occult. I looked him up. It turns out he's actually the oldest recurring DC character.
Wow.
Before Batman, before Superman. And I was like, wow, I only learned that in 2025.
Yeah.
And I've been a DC fan since I was like in preschool or kindergarten.
Yeah. Well, it's like with White Tiger and Daredevil Born Again. I've known of White Tiger. I know of Ava, the daughter of Hector. I've known that, but I didn't know that he was the first Latino superhero. I found that out like 2 months ago. I had no idea.
Yeah, would have never guessed.
Yeah.
I know about the only White Tiger I know about is just in the Marvel Snap card game. That's my knowledge of the character. And I see it a lot with Marvel Rivals being. I don't know if you've played it or seen it played or heard of it, but that's been a really big part of the gaming community lately. I think it's a great game. I have a lot of fun with it. It's a very addicting game. I see a lot of people, a lot of videos of cosplayers, etc. Someone's interviewing a cosplayer and they're like, "Oh, I'm Squirrel Girl from Marvel Rivals," and they're clearly like the version of Squirrel Girl from Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
And a lot of comments is, "Well, she's not just from Marvel Rivals; she's from this and that." And I'm like, maybe this is their introduction to the character, and they fell in love with the character from this game. Why is that a bad thing? Like there's a lot of people, and I'm willing to say potentially most people nowadays who are familiar with Marvel because of the MCU.
Yeah.
That only started in like 2010-ish era. Like Marvel existed a long time before that.
Yeah, it's true. And plus Marvel Rivals, their suits look so good.
They do.
Why would you not want to cosplay as that look?
The character designs in that game are excellent.
Are fantastic. And I've played the game. If I've ever been on your team, you'll know me because I'm the one that keeps getting killed by Jeff the Land Shark. So, sorry guys.
Oh, so everyone.
Well, it's like you see everyone like Spider-Man coming in. You see like Venom doing his thing. And then there's me. Usually I'm the Punisher. And I'm just... Spider-Man killed me the other day. And I was like, man, fuck this game. I don't care anymore. I was so mad.
I'm just one of the many Penny Parkers leaving landmines for enemies to step on.
Well,
they love stepping on my landmines.
And that's okay. You're adding to the team. That's fine.
Yes.
I do like when one of these big games come out. I'm not a gamer by anywhere. I will play Mario and I'll play Marvel Rivals. That's all I got in me. But I do like when these games come out and there's this buzz, this excitement going on. Like, do you remember when Pokemon Go came out?
Yes, that was one of the best summers ever.
I swear, like, we were living. I remember when it first dropped that weekend, everyone was out. Everyone was having a fun time. Everyone was just vibing. Everyone was chilling. If we all showed up at the same park, we knew why. We knew we were there to fight that Gyarados.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That united humanity for like a couple months.
It did. That was the last chance we had at world peace.
Yeah.
I want that to happen again. I want something like that to happen again. Because that was just... It was like all these people who had nothing to do with each other. We all were like... So like, who was your starter? Like we just kind of all chilled. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember, hanging out with like current friends to play like Pokemon Go. And then we'd be like going to a college campus or a park. And I'd see someone that I was good friends with back in like middle school, and I'm like, hey, Pokemon, and everyone was like talking about Pokemon, and I'm like, I remember around like Gen 3, I felt embarrassed to like Pokemon, so I kind of like stopped watching the anime because I was, my mom and my siblings were like, why are you watching that? So I kind of just forced myself to stop. But now it's back to everyone, regardless of who they are, is like, yo, I love Pokemon. Like, where was that?
Yeah.
Where was that like 10 years ago when I was bullied about liking Pokemon?
100%. I remember when Pokemon Go dropped, me and my best friend, we would stay out all hours of the night looking for gyms, looking for everything. And I remember like it was such a big deal. Cops were like, they'd be like, what are you guys doing? Because we were just walking around at like 2 a.m., like clearly. And he's like, you're just playing Pokemon? That's it? And like, that's all I'm doing. But I mean, I agree. At one point, it was like, you like Pokemon? And then there was gatekeeping as a kid. They're like, you can't like Pikachu. That's the easiest one. It's like, what? So gatekeeping's always been around. It's just never been so much in your face.
Right. There was once, also in middle school, I was wearing a Nintendo hoodie. It was just a plain red hoodie with the word Nintendo on it, like the Nintendo logo with like the oval.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really comfy hoodie. It was very warm. But I was just wearing it, and one kid just walked up to me, and he like got real in my face. Like one of the tallest kids in school got in my face. He's like, Nintendo's gay. And I was like, okay. And I backed away against like lockers. I was like, all right. Meanwhile, they're like kind of the kings of video games. Like, I don't know. He says that, but I guarantee he is playing Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that. People who talk trash about Nintendo are the first ones to say they will humble you in Mario Kart. And it's like, hang on. Pick a side here, because like I don't understand I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
Absolutely.
So stupid. So we're kind of getting to the end of our episode. It's been such a joy having you here. Would you mind telling our listeners where they can find you?
Yes. You can check out my blog at nonstopnerd.com. That's where I write about all things nerdy. For my social media, where I do post my articles for my blog, as well as updates on my fiction writing. You can find me on social media, either under just Nonstop Nerd. I think on Instagram it's nonstop_nerd. Mm-hmm. And then like some other, I think maybe like Twitter, it's like Nonstop Nerd blog. But any variation of like Nonstop Nerd or Nonstop Nerd blog, you can find me. The profile picture should be the same of a little like chibi cartoon version of me, like doing the Superman thing with like the like opening the shirt with the Superman logo there. That's me. If you that's where you can find me, if either on social media or just on my website Nonstop Nerd. But I recommend social media where you can see when I eventually post about my book being published in the future.
Yeah. And wherever you guys are listening to this episode, just check the show notes and you'll see all the links to where you can find David at Nonstop Nerd. So thank you so much for being here. Like I said, you're an absolute pleasure. It was so nice getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. Like a lot of people who are going to come on here, I love talking about nerdy things. So this has been a blast. If you ever want me on again in the future for this series that you're doing, or another series, I would love to just come on and talk nerdy stuff with you. Yeah,
I'm always down. You're welcome back anytime. It would be my honor.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you for listening to this episode of Vigilante Vibes. Wherever you're listening, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my amazing guests like David or any future episode. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a marvelous night.